Wasabi wallet. Unfairly private.
Securing your Bitcoin is very important, and one way to do that is to utilize a hardware wallet, a dedicated device that secures the keys to your money. Today we're going to be taking a look at the BitBox02. I am Ben with the BTC Sessions, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to sponsors of the show, LEDN.io. I've been working with these guys for well over a year and a half at this point, and they offer a bunch of different services for which you can use your Bitcoin. The first one I ever used was their Bitcoin-backed loans. In my instance, I was in a pinch. I wanted to get my hands on dollars, but I didn't want to sell my Bitcoin because one, that's a taxable event, and two, I was worried I'd have to buy back in at a higher price. So I was able to deposit my Bitcoin. I got dollars in my bank account within 24 hours, and when I paid that back, I got back the exact same amount of Bitcoin. Now they've got a couple other products. They've of course got their Bitcoin and USDC savings accounts. They've just upped the interest rate on these to a maximum of 8.8%. And they've got their B2X offering. This uses the same loan mechanism to instantly buy more Bitcoin, effectively doubling your Bitcoin on the spot. So if you're interested in any of these, there's a link in the show notes down below and you can check them out. And if you opt to get a loan with that link, they'll actually give you $50 worth of Bitcoin for free. The BitBox02 is a Swiss-designed Bitcoin hardware wallet. It comes in flavors of Bitcoin only and altcoin support. I've opted for, of course, the Bitcoin only edition. Now, it does have a secure chip. It is fully open source. It uses USB-C, but also has a plug into regular USB. It's touchscreen. It has its own little screen as well where you can audit everything that you're doing, and it has dedicated software that you can use for it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be diving into setup, how to use by sending and receiving transactions, and taking a look at a couple of the advanced features, though I won't be diving super deep into that, but I'll at least show you where they're at and how to utilize them. With that, let's dive into the video. Okay, so I have downloaded the BitBox app off of their website, and I've got my device here ready to plug in. Note that it is USB-C, but if you don't have that, it comes with an attachment in the box that allows you to plug into a regular USB port. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug it in. You can see it turns on right away, and my firmware now says upgrade firmware right here, and I'm just going to click that button, and it'll just take a little bit to upgrade the firmware that is on the device. All right, once your upgrade is complete, you just tap the side depending on the orientation because you may be plugged into either side of your computer. So I just tap the bottom and I can see now I'm now correctly oriented. So now at this point, you're going to take a look at the pairing code on the device and contrast it with the one on the screen. It should be the same, and if so, then you just tap the little check mark here on the top and hit continue in the app. Now, at this point, you're either going to be creating a new wallet or you're going to be restoring a previously made wallet. And we will see what you would be restoring from if you had a previously created wallet as we create this one. So we're going to be doing create a new wallet right here. And I'm going to click on that. And we're going to give the device a name. So I'm just going to call it BTC Sessions. Okay, and we'll hit continue. Now, it says on the device, do you want that name? I'm going to hit the check mark up top. Okay, now at this point, we're going to set a password. It is very important to know that this password is not stored anywhere else. You need to remember this password. Now, this is just for testing purposes, so I'm just gonna do something really, really simple, and I'm going to make a password that just says test, okay? I don't recommend using that password. The way this works is you just tap wherever the letter is, wherever you see it grouped together, and it will spread out those letters, and then you further tap to where you see the letter that you want until you get to it. So T, and we'll just go through all those letters there. Once you're done, you tap up top and then you hold both, and it's going to ask you to repeat that password. Again, tap up top, you're gonna see 2 arrows, hold, success. Okay, at this point, I'm going to see I'm now creating a backup with a micro SD card, which is included. I've got it right here, you can see. Okay, so it just gives me a few warnings. I should store a backup in a secure location. My backup is not password protected. Anyone with access to it can access my wallet. If I lose or damage my BitBox02, the only way to recover my funds is to restore from my backup. If I lose or damage both my backup and my BitBox, my funds will be lost. And that's pretty standard across all hardware wallets. Okay, at this point, I need to insert the micro SD card in the side, and I'm just gonna stick it in there, and you just press until it clicks. There we go. Okay, then it checks the date. It is indeed July 1st. And that's it. So we've got our backup now in our SD card. We can remove it. And then you're going to keep that in a very safe location, probably somewhere different from where you actually keep the actual BitBox, so that if there's a fire or something, you have a backup somewhere in a different location. Okay, now back to the app. We'll hit get started. And at this point, it by default creates a segue Bitcoin account. That just simply means that interacting with the Bitcoin blockchain, you're going to encounter lower fees. It's a more efficient way of utilizing Bitcoin. And that's about all you need to know if you're just looking at the basics. And you can see up top, it's going to sync with the network just to ensure that everything is up to date. And then we should be able to utilize this app. With everything all now synced up, let's take an overview of the desktop application. So again, it's already told us that this is a segue Bitcoin account. We get it, we can close that out, and this is what you're going to be left with. You're going to have an available balance. You've got your send and receive buttons. You've got the amount of Bitcoin that you have and the amount in fiat currency. You can switch between the currencies by simply clicking. And if you notice right now, we've got Swiss francs, we've got US dollars, and we've got euros. You can add and remove those. We'll get into that in a moment. And then down below, you're going to have a transaction history. Of course, we don't have any transactions yet, so we'll get into that in a moment. Now, in the top left, this is the other important part. This is where you see your various accounts and some of your settings. So you can see right now we have 2 accounts. The second account is called native segue. It means that you will actually experience even lower network fees utilizing Bitcoin. However, not all wallets are capable of sending to a BEC32 address, so you may want to switch between the 2 accounts depending on what you're doing. Regardless, we can X out of that as well, and we're met with more or less the same screen. Now, when you go into this side application, or this side menu as well, there are options to buy and sell Bitcoin. You can choose your region and your payment method, and it will give you whatever options apply to you. So that is a handy little feature to have. And then you have your device management. So this is all to do with your backups. If you are utilizing, if you're used to writing down a 12 to 24 word backup instead of using an SD card and you'd like to do that, you can do that by simply tapping on Show Mnemonic Seed. And then at this point, you're going to hit Confirm. And then on the device, all you have to do is type in your password to see the mnemonic phrase. So I'm going to quickly do that here. And at this point, I can now see that I have my words that I can scroll through and write down. And when I'm done with that, I can just X out of it by tapping above. Okay, and I'll cancel. Perfect. You can also factory reset your device from here. You can change the name of your device. You can generate random numbers if you prefer. You can enable a passphrase, which is advisable. The passphrase that you entered only protects the device itself. So if somebody gets a hold of it, then they have X number of tries, I believe it's 10, to try and brute force your password to get into the device. But adding a passphrase is like adding an additional word to your seed, meaning that if somebody were to type in your seed or utilize the SD card, they would see a 0 balance if you hadn't utilized it yet. They would have to know the additional word, the additional passphrase, in order to fully unlock your wallet and actually see a balance. So not a bad idea to use a passphrase, but indeed, please do remember this passphrase because nobody is saving it for you. It should be noted the passphrase that we utilized earlier, again, is specific to the device, but with your SD card, you do not need that passphrase, the test one that we did, in order to recover it, unless you've enabled this other optional passphrase here. And then finally, if you go to the menu and you hit settings, this gives you your currencies. So I'm in Canada, so I'm going to turn on Canadian dollars, maybe favorite it, and then I'm going to turn off these other options so it only shows Canadian dollars. You'll also get lists of different accounts that you have. Now, the BitBox that I have is the Bitcoin only edition. So it only includes the software on the actual device that allows you to interact with Bitcoin, which is what I prefer. So I can turn off things like Litecoin. I can turn off Ethereum-based tokens, all of that crap. I don't need it. Then they've got some expert settings down here. You can enable coin control, which if you're diving into the privacy realm, that can be useful for you, though I'm not going to dive into that for this video. You can enable Tor, which encrypts your browsing data and makes it more difficult to see where you are and what you're doing. Or you can connect to your own full node, which again is very, very useful for those of you that do utilize your own full node. I've done videos on a few different options for that, my favorite being myNode. So be sure to go look through my videos for the myNode tutorial on how to connect your wallets, because this is where you would do it in here by plunking in the necessary information. Again, beyond the scope of this video, but do know it is an option. So we're going to jump back and we're going to start utilizing this Bitcoin wallet. So now that we've gone through all of the setup, taken a look at everything, we can start interacting here. Now you'll notice that my balance is now denominated in either Canadian dollars or Bitcoin. I would like eventually to see the option to denominate the Bitcoin in Satoshis, which is the smallest denomination of a Bitcoin. They can be split into 100 million parts. So one Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. Fun fact. But besides that, obviously we can't send yet because we haven't got any Bitcoin in here, but we can receive. And when we receive, you will see what will be a QR code here, but it is a segue address, so it starts with a 3, a wrapped segue address if you're looking for specifics. And then you have an option to hit show and verify full address on device, or I can, once I verify it, I can copy the address. So I have the option to either scan the QR code with a wallet or to copy and paste it into another wallet app. So I'm going to hit show and verify. At this point, I have now a scannable QR code. I have a bunch of digits here, which is my wallet address, and I can simply click copy, and then I'd be able to paste that into whatever wallet I want, or I can scan this QR code with an external wallet that I'm using. Now, I'm going to be doing this off screen. So I do have a Bitcoin wallet that I would like to utilize. Those of you curious, I am utilizing I'm utilizing Blue Wallet, which I've done a video on, so feel free to check that out. But either way, I am going to be scanning that by hitting send in my mobile wallet. And let me just jump to my mobile wallet so you can see what that looks like. So here I am in Blue Wallet, and I've got my BitBox up on my computer screen. I'm just going to hit send in the wallet. And then in every wallet, you're going to have an option where you can either paste an address or you can scan an address. Now, had I been texted the address or private messaged it from copying it in the actual interface and sending it over, then I could just paste it in here as I would with anything. But in this instance, I'm going to hit scan. That opens up my camera, and I can simply scan the address. And it's always good to verify a few of the digits. So check the first few digits and the last few digits compared to what's on the screen there, just to make sure they're the same, and then you're good to go. Then I'm going to select the amount of Bitcoin I'd like to send, or the number of dollars I'd like to send. So I'm just going to send over about 20 bucks Canadian. And I will hit next. And it should show me my information there. That looks about right to me. I'm going to hit send now. And that looks all good. Sent off. Let's see what happens within our BitBox app. By the way, I will adjust this back to the device here so that everybody can see. It's still on the verify part, and I'm just going to hit the check mark to get out of there. And now you can't see it because I've got two screens going, but if I go back, I got a notification that I have an incoming transaction. So pending. Bitcoin transactions typically take around 10 minutes to be confirmed and spendable. That can vary depending on how busy the network is, but I can see it's incoming, the exact same amount of Bitcoin that I sent out from the other wallet. And once that is confirmed, we will be able to spend it outside of the wallet. So we'll jump back as soon as that is possible. Now, the BitBox will make your balance available and spendable after a single confirmation, but in the transaction history, it will still show as pending after one confirmation, all the way up until 6 confirmations, or about an hour. That doesn't mean you can't spend it, but it does mean a lot of Bitcoiners refer to Bitcoins not being 100% final or relatively reasonably final until after 6 confirmations. But it does mean that you can spend it at this point. So if I go into the transaction details by clicking on the little magnifying glass here, I can see confirmations 1, status pending, 1 out of 6. And again, this is just kind of personal preference. It's $20. I'm not super worried about waiting for 6 full confirmations before I send it somewhere else, especially given that it was coming from myself. However, if it was a transaction for tens of thousands of dollars and it was from somebody that I don't necessarily trust 100%, then maybe I might want to wait for that entire 6 confirmations before confirming that I have the money in my possession. So again, personal preference, but that's fine. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to send out some money, and we're going to do that. We're going to hit the send button. Now at this point, we need a receiving address, we need an amount either in Bitcoin or Canadian dollars, or depending on your local currency that you've designated, and we need to set our fee or our priority. How fast do we want this to confirm? Are we worried about it taking a long time, or not so much? Okay, so first, address. Now I could paste one here that I've copied. Now I haven't copied any address, or I can click the little box in the right hand side, and that will open up my camera. So if I do that, can we allow the camera? I'm going to say yes. And once I've scanned that from my wallet there on the receive screen, it will autofill the address it needs to send to. Now at this point, I'm going to designate about half of it I'm going to send out. So I'm going to type in $10 and it auto calculates the Bitcoin amount for me. And I'm going to keep it as, let's change it. I don't mind. You can see if you switch between economy, how long it's going to take, high, normal, and it shows you the cost in terms of your local currency as well as Bitcoin. Now, I would love to see, and this may be able to be possible with advanced mode, is being able to set my network fee myself in number of Satoshis per byte. But for those of you that are brand new to Bitcoin, that may not be something that you're super keen on, but for me, that would be very, very nice. So I'm just gonna leave it as normal. I'm gonna hit review. It shows me all of my information here, and then I need to confirm it on the BitBox as well. So it says, okay, you're sending this amount to this address, and I can scroll through it to double check that it's correct with the one I see on the screen and the one in my wallet. Then I can move on. Total, I'm sending this amount, and that is my fee in Bitcoin. And if I tap the top, I now see 2 arrows, and I hold, and the transaction has now been sent. And I can see it. It has already popped up. Oh, there we go. Okay, now it's sent off, and it clears everything out here. And I can confirm, although I'm not going to move the camera around, that I see it incoming on my Blue wallet on my phone as well. So there, now we have received and then sent Bitcoin transactions on the BitBox, and it's now in the transaction history as well, and that's where we can go in and see all of the details about what is going on and where. So those are the basics. Now, the last thing I wanted to show here is, while there's still a balance on this, there's still some Bitcoin sitting here, I'd like to actually wipe the device and show you how to recover from your SD card backup. So I'm going to go into the Manage Device screen. I'm going to hit Factory Reset Device. I do have a valid backup, and I'm going to factory reset. And in order to do that, I need to type in my password. So one more time with the one that I created. And then do I want to reset? Yes. Device is now reset. And I can see I'm bumped right back to the main screen of the BitBox app. Okay, so at this point, starting from scratch, tap this side. Now I double check the pairing code. It seems to be all good. So I'm going to hit the check mark on the device and continue in the app. Now this is where we use the restore screen, okay? So you can restore from the microsd, which we're gonna do, or I was talking about the mnemonic, where you can write down the 12 words as well as an additional password if you like. You could use that here as well. So I'm gonna hit restore from microsd. I'm simply going to plunk it in, hopefully smoothly. Okay. And then it says restore backup. I can hit BTC sessions. That's the one that I saved. Hit restore. And now I get to set a password, because remember, the password was just specifically for the device, not for the SD card. So I can set the same one, a different one, doesn't matter. It's only specific to the device, not the backup. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll just set the same one for now. Success. Get started. Okay, and at this point, the SD card is still in there. I can take it out now. Remove that. And there, I can see my previous transactions. Everything is kept in the SD card, and now that I've added back in my accounts, even though I had wiped the device, everything was saved for me. I can see my existing balance. I once again have access to my Bitcoin, and I can see the previous transactions that were there. So that is pretty much it. If you destroy the device, you can always use the SD card to put it into a new device and get a new one, or you can write down the phrase as I showed you and use that as a backup in any device. So I quite enjoyed checking out the BitBox. I found it pretty easy to use. I really like the touch on it. That was actually quite easy to navigate and easier than I thought, typing in out words and passphrases and things like that. Now, a few things that I'd love to see in future versions. Of course, I mentioned in the video, I'd love to see the ability to denominate my Bitcoin in Satoshis. I'd also like to see manual fee settings instead of just like, wanting normal or high or low. That would be very, very excellent. I did take a look at the coin control stuff. I would like to see some stuff around labeling your UTXOs. For those that aren't super advanced, that may sound like Greek, but those advanced will understand what I mean. I'd also like to see compatibility with alternative interfaces. And what I mean is you have to use, if I'm not mistaken, their dedicated software with this device. But myself, I do like to utilize other interfaces like Electrum Wallet and Wasabi Wallet with my hardware devices. So if there's a way to do that in the future, that would be prime. I would very much enjoy that. Now, one bonus that I didn't mention in the video is that there is a mobile app that is out for this device, and it works exactly the same as what we saw in the video, just condensed into your phone. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that will probably only function on Android, given that Apple is so closed to plugging external devices into their phones. But if you have an Android phone, then I've got the app on my phone as well, and I've been exploring it a bit. Pretty easy to use as well. So overall, I did enjoy the BitBox, and kudos to the guys at Shift Crypto for putting this together, and thanks for sending one over. Yeah, I can't complain, and I enjoyed my time with this. If you watched this video, let me know what you thought of the BitBox. Is this something you're interested in? Did you enjoy the way it functions? What would you like to see out of it? Any detractors, anything that you didn't like, what you saw? Always curious to hear. And outside of that, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share. If you want to help out the show in another way, you can hit me up on any of the other platforms I stream to, whether it be Twitter, Facebook Live, Twitch, or the podcast, audio only for news when it comes to Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, all that. You can find me there. You can also hit up the sponsor I mentioned down below. That was LEDN.io. Links in the show notes. Or if you really liked what you saw, you can drop me a Bitcoin Lightning Network tip at my tipin.me page. That is tipin.me/@BTC Sessions. With that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful evening or a wonderful rest of the day. I'll see you next time for your daily session.